What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Ryan Hafey with Hafey Digital here. Hope you're doing well. So recently I've been binge watching a lot of the work from filmmaker, content creator Brandon Lee. Now if you don't know who Brandon Lee is, stop watching this video immediately. Go check out his YouTube channel. He's a travel filmmaker and makes these just really visually impactful short films, but he also does a lot of tutorials, reviews, Q&As, gear breakdowns, and things like that. So it's definitely worth checking out if you're an aspiring filmmaker. But chances are, if you're watching this, you probably already know who he is. So I'm just gonna go ahead and move on. Anyway, there's a video on Brandon's channel. Actually, it's one of the more recently uploaded videos called Seoul Wave, and that's Seoul as in Seoul, Korea. It's obviously a travel film about Seoul, Korea. Great short film, I suggest you go check it out. But there's actually a clip at about the 9 or 10 second mark, and it only lasts a few seconds, but it involves kind of a high, what's probably a drone shot looking down at some traffic, and I could probably go on explaining it, but it would make more sense for you to just take a look at it, so here, check it out. Now, I want to play that back one more time for you because there was a subtle effect in there that if you weren't paying attention to it, you might have missed it. So this time when you watch the clip back again, take a look at the traffic and how it moves in relation to kind of the camera movement. Pretty cool, huh? It was a combination of the camera movement, as there's kind of a rotation and a little bit of zoom, mixed with the traffic moving at different speeds at different times that really intrigued me and mesmerized me. And I wanted to try to figure out how he did it, because for the longest time I couldn't figure it out. So I watched the clip maybe 15 or 20 times to try to figure out exactly how he did it, and I think I figured it out, and that's actually what this video is about. So I made my own recreation of that effect in his video. So I wanted to show you what my recreation looked like and then go about showing you how I did it. So what I want to do now is I want to show you Brandon's clip one more time, and then I'll show you my clip right after so you can see the comparison between the two. I thought it came out pretty good, right? So the first step in the process in recreating this effect was figuring out exactly what kind of clip I needed to capture in order to make it happen. Now, as I mentioned earlier, in Brandon's clip, there is some rotation in the video, and there's also a little bit of zoom happening. Initially, I thought I was going to have to recreate that same camera motion with my drone in order to achieve the effect. But then as I thought about it more, I realized that actually all I need is one shot from a high vantage point, camera angled straight down, just one static shot. That's all you need for this effect. It's also important to mention that you want to be shooting this at a high resolution. I shot the clip that I took at 2.7K. You could shoot it at 4K. I also shot my clip at 60 frames per second because I thought I would need to slow down some of the footage, but as I was going through editing, I realized that that wasn't actually necessary. So don't worry about shooting at a higher frame rate. So from here, I got my drone out, sent it up into the air, and over to a nearby highway. Now, quick disclaimer, I do not recommend flying your drone over any kind of traffic. If your drone were to malfunction and crash into the traffic, you could have a big problem on your hands. In my case, I made sure that I had a full battery, I had a good connection, and I was very high up in the air, so I wasn't too worried about anything happening, but just had to throw that out there. Once I was nice and high over the highway, I pointed the camera straight down, and I tried to make sure that the highway filled about 1/3 of the frame in total. I also made sure to put the drone, which by the way is a Mavic 2 Pro, in tripod mode so that it would stay nice and stable up in the air. If it's a little windy where you are and you want to try to recreate this effect, you may have some problems because the shot needs to be as stable as possible. Once I had everything lined up, I went ahead and hit record and just let the drone record maybe a minute, minute and a half worth of footage. I wanted to be able to record long enough to ensure that I could capture a cluster of cars going in each direction with a little bit of a buffer on each end of the clip. And that was all I needed, just that one clip. Afterwards, I flew the drone home, popped the footage into Premiere, and that's where we'll go now to go through the rest of the editing process. Now, the first thing you want to do is you want to find a good in and out point for the clip that you captured and drag it into a timeline that matches the resolution of the clip itself. So for example, I shot my clip at a resolution of 2.7K, so I dragged that into a new sequence with that same resolution. From there, what I did was I duplicated the clip 2 more times so that I had 3 identical clips stacked on top of each other. And the reason I did this is because we need to do some masking. So on the topmost clip, I masked out the lane on the top half of the screen, and then on the middle clip, I masked out the lane on the bottom half of the screen. And there was no masking that was necessary for the clip on the very bottom. That was just meant to stay there to kind of fill in any of the lines where the mask didn't overlap. And the reason that I masked those two top clips is because by masking, that allows you to now speed ramp each individual lane by itself. Whoa, slow down there, killer. Now there's one point that I forgot to make when I was recording this that I need to clear up. In Brandon's video, you'll notice that there's an additional level of complexity when it comes to the people walking on the sidewalk. You'll notice that the people on the sidewalk are walking in real time for the duration of the clip, and they're not speed ramping like the cars do. Now, I didn't have any movement like that in the clip that I shot. There were no people walking alongside the highway or anything like that. But if there were, all I would have had to do would have been to adjust the mask so that it was only masking the lanes of highway and nothing beyond it on either side. By doing that, I would have been preserving that portion of the frame so that everything that was outside of the lane masks would have been appearing to be moving in real time, while I could still animate the masked portions of the clip so that the traffic looked like it was speed ramping. I'm rambling, I hope that makes sense. Anyway, I think you get what I'm saying. Back to the video. So that's the next step in the process. What I tried to do was wait for a cluster of cars to just enter the scene in one of the lanes, and then I would speed ramp it until they get almost all the way to the other side of the frame and then bring it back down to normal speed. And then I did the same thing with the opposing lane of traffic. And as you'll notice in Brandon's video, the car on the lane towards the bottom of the frame speeds up first, and then the top lane speeds up right after that. So that's what I did here. I just basically realigned the clips so that the bottom lane sped up first and then the top lane sped up right after it. And now once you've done that, assuming that your shot was nice and steady and your masking was good, this is what it'll look like. So if you ask me, that looks pretty cool as it is, but the problem is we're missing that camera motion that you see in Brandon's video. So the next thing you need to do is you need to select all the clips in this current timeline and you need to nest them. Then you need to create a new sequence, and this sequence should be a 1080p sequence, which is a lower resolution than the 2.7K resolution that the clip was originally filmed at, and that's important, and you'll see why here in a second. Once you've created this new sequence, then you're going to import that nested sequence into it, and now you can start to animate that nested sequence a little bit. And because you have that higher resolution, you can zoom in and you can do that rotation without cutting off any of the corners of the frame. So just like in Brandon's clip, I started with a counterclockwise rotation, zoomed in just a little bit. From there, I adjusted the rotation to come back towards center just a little bit, at the same time also zooming out. Another thing to keep in mind is that in the clip from Brandon's video, the rotation and the zoom starts faster in the beginning of the clip and then slows down once the cars start to speed ramp a little bit. So you want to make sure that you're adjusting your keyframes so that it does the same thing as well. And once you've got all your keyframes where you want them and everything looking the way that you want it to look, last step is to add in a little bit of color correction and color grading, and this once again is the final result. So assuming that Brandon actually achieved the effect in the same way that I recreated it here, I think what intrigues me most about the clip is not the effect itself, but the fact that Brandon was able to reimagine what would otherwise be just a normal, boring, static drone shot into this kind of cool animated visual effect that was such a small part of the video as a whole, but just added a whole lot of character to it. Anyway, this is a really fun exercise for me. I had a lot of fun recreating that shot. If you have seen any effects that are similar to this, or you've watched other videos, you're like, man, I wonder how we did that, leave me a comment, put a link in the comments below. Let me know where to look for it. I'll take a look, and maybe in another video I'll see if I can recreate another one of these effects. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it because I enjoyed making it. If you did, you know what to do, and we will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.